Ambassador, thank you very much for inviting the World Bank to the conference. This is a very important topic for us, and a very important topic for global development and growth. Around 1.1 billion people worldwide still live without access to electricity, mostly concentrated in Africa and Asia. 2.9 billion people rely on wood or biomass for cooking and heating, resulting in indoor and outdoor air pollution attributable for 4.3 million deaths each year. There has been a lot of success in electrification in recent years, particularly in India and in Southeast Asia. The minister from Laos talked about the work we've done with his country to raise energy access. Progress in Africa, however, remains too slow. Access to modern cooking and heating fuels has progressed even more slowly, not even keeping up with population growth between 2010 and 2012. So, the World Bank's group's engagement in the energy sector is aimed at supporting developing countries to secure the affordable, reliable, sustainable energy supply needed to end poverty and promote shared prosperity. The bank's energy agenda is closely aligned with the recently introduced UN Sustainable Development Goals, goal number 7, which is based on the premise that energy drives development and energy drives growth and human welfare. In countries with low access to energy, the priority is providing affordable and reliable energy supply. This can be grid, off-grid, mini-grid, all possible ways of contribution to the solution. And so are cleaner cooking and heating solutions. The World Bank Group's approach to the development of energy systems is based on least cost options, with an emphasis on renewables, such as hydro, wind, solar, and geothermal, while also promoting energy efficiency. In Southeast Asia, we also support regional interconnections, which will help all countries benefit from increasing energy trade and cross-border investments. And some of this, again, is demonstrated by the support we're providing Laos PDR in hydro and in connecting regionally. We recognize the global challenge of balancing energy for development with its impact on climate change, and we strive to help clients realize affordable alternatives to coal power. The World Bank is committed to helping countries achieve universal access to energy by 2030, while doubling both the share of renewable energy and the rate of energy efficiency improvements. However, to meet that goal, we estimate that roughly $1 trillion of investment annually is required to deliver fully on that goal. So, to address that scale of financing, it is essential that the role of the private sector be enhanced, not only to introduce efficiency, new technologies, but also to provide debt and equity finance. Again, the World Bank, as well as its affiliated agencies of the International Finance Corporation and the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency, are working with the private sector to catalyze funding in this area. About 80 countries have committed to develop plans to reach these goals, and a significant number are working out detailed investment plans. Just for an example, the first of these plans was done in Myanmar. I know the minister from Myanmar is here. The World Bank has recently committed about $400 million from its concessional financing arm, IDA, to support the plans. But this will help Myanmar start implementing its national electrification program, which calls for investments of about $10 billion to achieve universal access by 2030. In Myanmar and other countries, we can only reach these objectives if we leverage private capital. But leverage private capital also requires a level playing field and a stable business climate. So along with our partners, we work closely with countries to build strong energy institutions, strong energy regulatory capacity, and to help develop laws and policies that will facilitate investment, particularly in the renewable sector. Renewables are increasingly bringing energy access to poor and remote communities through solar home systems and mini-grids. Energy efficiency can also improve access and services to the poor by extending the reach of every kilowatt hour already generated. And of course, any reduction in global emissions help to reduce the threat of climate change. Affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all is essential. Given the benefits at stake, we cannot miss the opportunity to work together and to devote our resources to making this goal a reality. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Carl Peter. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard all the panelists on stage. I believe we still have about half an hour, so we can now tackle your questions. And there are many questions which all of you have used this pigeonhole system. The number of votes that you may see on the screen later represent the number of you which agree with the questions. So if you have a question with 5 votes, it means 5 different persons want to ask the same questions, right? So, panelists, we will look at the most exciting question, which has 5 votes now. Yeah. Continue to send your questions, those of you who have, after listening to the panelists. I will try my best to answer them all, not me, with all my panelists here. There are quite a few questions now, more than a dozen questions. But let's look at the question with 7 votes now. 7 of you asked the same question, or would like to have the same question, to Malaysia and to Laos. All right, Malaysia and Laos. Dato' Lu and Vice Minister Villapong, to what extent has a recent drop in oil prices affect your energy policy calculation in Malaysia and in Laos? How will sustained oil, or how will sustained low oil prices likely to impact on policies in the broader Asian region? So maybe we listen to you, Villapong. Tell us about your Laos experience first, and then maybe a short reference to the broader Asian situation. Please keep your response short and sharp so that we can have as many questions answered from the audience. Excellency, please.
Thank you. It's actually very good, the same more or less answer when they ask about how can ASEAN benefit from Lao hydropower. Because as I mentioned earlier, we expected that we will have something like 10,000 megawatt by 2020 and 20,000 megawatt by 2030. And roughly that would be about 2/3 for export. And the export now, the most significant is between Laos and Thailand. We're talking about 7,000 megawatt by 2020. And the export of hydropower from Laos to Thailand is actually replacement of gas-fired power plants. That is the base for the tariff discussion. So that, and we have 25 to 30 years power purchase agreement. So whatever oil price drop, it doesn't affect the PPA. I think it would not even affect our plan, our projected development of the hydropower project. So in this aspect, it doesn't affect it.
Thank you, Villapong. Dato' Lu?
Ladies and gentlemen, in the old days, we used, as I mentioned just now, we used to provide huge energy subsidies, and this trend is not sustainable. So we, as I mentioned just now, we are moving towards gradual energy subsidy rationalization or or reduction. So we need to balance between economic pricing and political considerations. So here we have adopted the formula that yes, we will reduce the energy subsidy, but it has to be done in a manner that is acceptable, politically acceptable, and economically feasible. So here today we are at about $4. Actually, we still, the consumers are still heavily subsidized, so we need to move up to probably about $6. Then we will review the position. So for Malaysians, we have, the ministry has always been telling them that we got to use energy efficiently, whether it's for power generation or for the industrial sector. For the consumers at large, the ministry has always been embarking on very aggressive outreach program to tell them that, look, you are receiving huge subsidies, please don't waste the energy. You have to use energy in a more judicious manner. The government also has issued directives to the government agencies, to the public at large, that we are monitoring their energy consumption very closely for big energy guzzlers. Of course, we don't penalize them in Malaysia. We don't believe in penalizing them, but we do through the educational approach for the big energy guzzlers. We have the hand-holding program to encourage energy saving. On the issue about the future, moving forward, we would like to encourage more usage of renewable energy. Even though the price of oil has dropped, we need to address issues related to climate change. That's where the Malaysian government had recently adopted, apart from the FIT modality, we are moving towards utility scale solar promotion, as well as net metering as an approach towards our climate change agenda. So for the period of from 2017 to 2021, we would like to produce or generate something like 1,000 megawatts of solar energy. It works out to roughly about 250 megawatt per year from the year 2017 to 2021. So this is apart from the feed-in tariff scheme. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't know about energy policy, but as a consumer, I'm looking forward to lower prices for my car petrol and electricity bill. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Tang, you have the next big set of questions, no?
Why?
I don't know why everybody want to zero in on you, but you look at that question there, how much intermittent renewables can be injected to the current grid? Any plan to upgrade into smart grid? How come Sembcorp have this kind of questions?
Well, Sembcorp have our Sembcorp's renewable energy business is unfortunately all outside Singapore. It is in India and in China. In India, we have a company actually pursuing wind and solar energy business. We have about close to 700 megawatts of wind and solar power operating. And this year, we are developing another 300 megawatt of wind power plants in India. In China, we have about 350 megawatt of wind power in China operating. And we have another 200 or 300 megawatts under construction or in the process of getting approval this year. So there's a lot of growth in this area. But one of the things that in renewable energy that we must take care about is, like the audience asked the question of intermittent renewable energy supply. Besides intermittent renewable energy supply, another factor that we need to take care about is the grid constraint. We have a power grid direct chairman here. I think in China, for example, we also have grid constraint from Inner Mongolia to supply the wind power to the grid. In India, we have grid constraint of supplying wind power to the grid. So I think the working together closely with the power grid and with the will help to improve the renewable energy to be delivered to the system. Now, on the intermittent power, generated from renewable energy, I think one very important factor or technology development needed will be energy storage. I think over the longer term, we need to discover better technology and cheaper technology to make sure that there's energy storage facility that can be able to dispatch power on a required basis.
Thank you. Wang Ming, there is a question here. Now it has 18 votes, which we have to answer. What is the future of coal in China's energy mix? And how does China balance its priority between the usage of coal and environmental sustainability? This is a question that 19 of you wanted to send to him.
Wow.
So please put on your headphone.
这个大家知道，中国的这个能源结构啊，当前呢还主要是以煤为主，这是中国的这个能源资源的这个禀赋条件所决定的。但是呢，这个最近一些年来，是吧？中国政府啊，因为对环境保护的重视啊，对节能减排的重视，应该说对煤电的发展啊，应该持有一个比较谨慎的态度，特别是中国的东中部地区，这个受到的这个污染更加严重一些，所以对煤电的发展保持了一个非常稳健和谨慎的这么一个态度，事实上是有一些控制。与此同时呢，中国对可再生能源的发展高度的重视，大力的支持，所以到现在为止啊，这个到去年年底，中国的这个可再生能源装机啊，已经达到了4.3亿千瓦，占全部发电装机的32%，发电量呢达到了1.2万亿千瓦时，占全部发电量的22%。应该说这个数字啊，应该说这个提高的还是非常的快，非常的快。特别是这个，我这有一个数据，我再给大家这个进一步的通报一下。特别是这个进入这个21世纪以来，从2000年到14年，这个全球的风电装机容量增长了20倍，中国增长了281倍。这个全球的太阳能发电装机容量增长了117倍，中国增长了1395倍，应该说这个发展的速度相当的迅猛。所以由于清洁能源的这个快速的、迅猛的、大规模的发展，那么化石这个煤电的这个比重会越来越低，那么这个我们预测中国在2030年以前，煤炭的这个消费总量这个峰值一定会在2030年前要达到，然后在这个峰值过去以后，就开始陆续的下降，一直走向这个用清洁能源从替代这个替代这个化石能源走向这样一个情景。那么到2050年的时候，中国的这个清洁能源占一次能源消费的比重一定会超过80%，有望这个速度不断的加快。我就说这个，好，谢谢。
Thank you, Mr. Wang. I have a set of questions for Ozaki-san. The question is really, about the integrated gas and LNG market in Asia. Is it possible, like what you have in Europe? Can you integrate the gas and LNG market in Asia to be like that in Europe? And what kind of role will LNG play for ASEAN?
Well, I think it is possible for us to have a very liquid and flexible gas market for all as Asia. Because, for example, Japan, I think the Japanese appetite for energy in the future will be less than, say, 10, 20 years before. So we have a kind of competing market situation to come in the future of Japanese market. So in order to fuel that market, I think we need a rather flexible supply of energy, either gas or coal. And that situation will also expand into the Asian importers of energy. So we don't have to fix the supply and demand in a straight line. We can have a flexible approach. And also, many people, including ministers, told about the liberalization of the market. And liberalization means that the gas or power companies are not obliged to supply 100% to the customers. And so if we can obtain some very attractive energy source, then we can expand the market, and vice versa. And with the liberalization of market, and also the supply is ample, and market is more rationalized, then we can find the way how to get energy market, gas market, like United States or Europe. That is my hope and expectation.
So when you say integrated gas market, does it mean you have to build more LNG terminal around the region?
Well, Japan, I think we have more than enough. So. But yes, we need some, or the pipeline system to connect the terminals, or maybe storage. And also, in the Asian region, there are a number of gas fields. Some are depleted, and some can modulate the production according to the demand. So taking all the facilities into one, not tightly, but integrated system, then we can have a very flexible market, a gas market in the future.
Thank you. Peter, Carl, you can't get away with it.
I thought you forgot.
Yeah, World Bank financing. They're asking you, why can't you finance more building of nuclear power plant?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I thought you forgot I was here. But we as a World Bank group, we have a strategic framework for the engagement, for our engagement in the energy sector, and we don't support nuclear. It's not something we support.
Oh. It's supposed to be clean and good for the future.
Yes. As I say, we work on least cost investment plans in developing country clients, and nuclear is not something that we finance.
That's why now you have AIIB?
We hope to work in very close partnership with AIIB, but I think the AIIB would have to speak for themselves about their...
Yeah, maybe you send all those applications for nuclear power plant to them. Okay, I think everyone got a shot at it, but now I would like to zero in on a few specific questions. And Excellency Virapong, many people want to know how can ASEAN benefit from Laos' hydropower program. You are the battery of ASEAN in the future. Maybe you sell us cheaper electricity.
Thank you. Actually, it's very simple. You know, you talk about 10 to 20,000 megawatt of hydropower. It would be generating 60,000 to 100,000 gigawatt hour per year. And if you replace that from coal-fired power plant or gas-fired, you are talking about 30 to 60 million tons of carbon emission avoided into the atmosphere that all of us benefit from that.
Indonesia may not agree with you.
I
Because they are the
think
biggest exporter of coal.
I think that is the most important issue, that you avoided that. Plus, you avoided the burning of the fossil fuels. I think the second point I want to, in this, how you benefit. I mean, the Minister of Energy of the ASEAN country have agreed to 23% of renewable energy contribution to the system. And why not hydro? You getting hydro from which will last 100 years and without subsidies. If you use solar and wind, there's still a lot of subsidies in the program. But hydropower, we are selling it to EGAT without subsidies. So, I mean, why not? Actually, what you need to subsidize is small hydropower. That is still expensive. That's why it's very difficult to get it started in Laos. We have been working with the World Bank and IFC, but it's so difficult because we don't have subsidies for small hydropower. But you do subsidize wind and solar, which is non-dispatchable, which is a lot of problems. Thank you.
All the people from the environmental group had gone to the World Bank to tell you not to pay more money to build plants in Laos because they think that your trees and mountains have been damaged by the hydropower. So you have to be careful, no? No, let me ask you this other question. Do you want to develop solar energy in Laos? Since you got high mountain, you may be nearer to the sun, no?
We have tried, actually. We have a few projects going on with wind and solar, but it's so expensive, and we are asking the whole world to help how you can make it cheaper. I mean, why you can develop cheaper, large hydropower? Why do I have to, spend the money to do those things? Which, in most of our, I have one very good example I want to share with you on the small remote village. I went there with the UNDP and try to get small solar system to them, and it would be up and running in 6 months. But the whole village refused it. They prefer a small hydropower there, which would take 2 to 3 years. But they said, what do we have solar here? It's at night. What happened to us? And then you don't have it. And then we don't have other benefits. And after 10, 15 years, it's gone. We need money to replace it. So that is a story for Laos, but it may not be true to other countries. But I mean, it's still expensive. It's still not dispatchable to the system. But we did have it in the remote area. Whenever appropriated, we do it.
Yeah, in this kind of haze outside there, solar energy not so effective, right? How about your friend next door? Vietnam is producing nuclear power. Will you tap into their nuclear market?
I think I have mentioned it last year, and I fully agree with the executive director of IEA. I mean, it depends on the two main issues that, I mean, as long as you are sure of the safety and follow all the standard, I have no comments on that.
Okay. Well, you have to convince World Bank to finance you first. Dato' Lu, you have many questions, very specific to Malaysia. One is about your CCS coupled with USC coal plants. And then another one is about your net metering policy. Maybe this is a time for those of you who are interested in specific Malaysian policy. Let Dato' Lu respond to you quickly on this. Please.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have embarked on increased use of coal for power generation. So that is based on this cost consideration. But we are also mindful about the effects of coal generation on the environment. That's why the Malaysian government had adopted the type of technology that would cut down on carbon emissions. As I mentioned about the carbon capture and sequestration technology, it is something that the IEA had identified, and worldwide there are also discussions going on how to address the carbon emissions from the coal plants. And for us in Malaysia, if this technology is proven commercially for our next planting up, we would consider the adoption of the CCS coupled with the ultra supercritical technology. So far, as we know, there's only one power plant in the world that has adopted CCS, and it is the Boundary Dam project in Canada. So for us in Malaysia, we are looking forward towards the usage of this technology if it is available in the market, even though the price may be high, but we also need to factor in the cost of pollution. So if you add in this cost of polluting the environment, then there could be a basis for considering CCS adoption. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next question on the FIT.
Yes, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned just now, we are embarking on big utility scale type of solar adoption in addition to the feed-in tariff mechanism that is adopted to promote renewable energy. The feed-in tariff mechanism is quite limited in its scope, so we got to go beyond the FIT, and I mentioned just now, we are looking at 1,000 additional megawatts from solar energy between the period 2017 to 2021. So this is one area that we can also look, we can collaborate with the technology providers and also the financial institutions who may be interested to finance such projects in Malaysia. Thank you.
How about, I heard that the haze situation in Kuala Lumpur is worse than, in Malaysia is worse than Singapore. So you depend on solar energy. Next year, we got this kind of haze, you cannot rely on solar energy.
I hope by that time we would have resolved this problem with our neighbors. Thank you.
Yeah, Indonesia said they had 35 provinces, they negotiate with 35 provinces. Okay, but I think it's about time that we wrap up for lunch, right? However, there is a very important question which I thought that I should pose to all the panelists, and then maybe this is the time each of you have 1 minute to respond to that question and also wrap up your final comments. And this is this question about, can market coupling lead to one ASEAN power market? Yeah. Can market coupling on the screen now lead to one ASEAN power market? Yeah. I am not a very good technician in this. I don't know how to couple. I can couple human beings, but I don't know how to couple other things. So maybe we start with you, Carl. World Bank has any comments about this? And maybe take the 1 minute you have to wrap up your final thoughts.
Okay, thank you very much, and as I say, for having us here. I think, as I pointed out to you, the agenda in energy is huge. The needs to raise access are extremely large. Energy also, I hope that the need for clean cooking and other home energy sources doesn't drop off the agenda. Given the scale and necessity of this agenda, it requires a very strong partnership between the governments, the private sector, as well as all of the international financial institutions. That's why I think conferences like this that bring us all together are quite essential to moving forward, so that we have a financing agenda, we have a institutional agenda in terms of regulation, strengthening institutions, as well as we have a policy agenda looking at, many people have mentioned the policies around energy subsidies, policies around renewables. All these things need to come together in a partnership to really move forward on this agenda. On the specific question around the ASEAN power grid, I'm not really an expert in that. I think Mr. Barol gave an excellent response to that in the opening session. What I will say, which is I re-emphasize, which I emphasized in my remarks, that the World Bank is really working very closely with our client countries, with all countries in Southeast Asia, as well as a country, as well as ASEAN, to really to explore in depth issues around regional trade, regional connectedness, and how we can help think through the policy issues, think through the political economy of that, as well as the other issues. So, but thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Mr. Wang, 1 minute.
好，这辛苦一下大家把耳麦带上了。这个东盟电力统一市场的建立，首先呢必须依赖于东盟各国电网的互联。从全球能源互联网的战略观点出发，我认为东盟的电力市场一定会随着清洁能源的发展，会逐步建立，逐步建立并为大家服务的。那么就东盟地区来讲，这个东盟的这个能源资源，特别是这个可再生能源的资源，它的分布也是不均衡的，有的国家比较富集，有的国家比较匮乏，这是其一。第二呢，各国现在大家都重视，尽可能的少用化石能源，尽可能的